Hey guys, I'm back again. Thought maybe you'd miss seeing me in the car. You can see it's all nice and clean now. Going to pick my brother-in-law up at the airport. This is his vehicle. Mike Manugian did donate for the tour so that I could have a comfortable, reliable ride. So shout out to him. I am feeling a lot better. Finally even got some sleep last night because although I've been feeling much better for 3-4 days now, still haven't really been sleeping, which is a big bummer. But last night I got 9 hours. But before I get started, just real quick, you guys can follow me on Telegram at Zilosophy for all. That's with the number 4. The name of the group is Zilosophy for the People. You can follow me on Instagram at mzildj, at MZILDJ, and Facebook, Michael Zildjian. Still on there, being viciously shadow banned on Instagram still, but I keep going, and being censored on Facebook, but I keep going. And that's what we do. And then also for anyone who wants just to contribute to Zilosophy and to my efforts to help me keep going, I don't make any money at this. As you can see, I don't monetize the videos. I have it set up. I'm still not sure if I'm going to do it. I do sell my book, Zilosophy on Golf. If you want to drop a comment, I can send you a signed copy of my book for $20. But also, if you want to just contribute some money to the cause to help me keep making these videos and keep going, you can Venmo me at Michael-Zildjian. That's at Michael-Zildjian. So let's see, let's get into it. What are we going to talk about today? It's great to see Scott back and on his channel, giving us all kinds of information. You know, I started out as a fan before I came a brother and a friend. We just had a very long conversation. He's on his way to see the general today, as many of you know. I'm not going to go into the details of that conversation, but I will just share that the general's not doing well, and we need to continue to pray for him and do everything we can, because it's not looking good, quite frankly. And I won't say any more than that. I'll let Scott do it when the time is appropriate. Hopefully Scott's going to get in front of him today and change that vibration, and there's going to be some miracle. That's what we need to pray for. But we also talked about the tour that's upcoming. I don't have any information for you guys. We're still working on it. He's got a team, as you know, that are working on it, and needs to get on a phone call with them. But we did talk about what I would like my role to be and moving forward and those kinds of things. I won't go into that detail either. That's, private stuff. But I did make it clear that I want to do some more speaking and emceeing than I was doing on the last tour. And I certainly hope that that's the case. I shared a story with him that I can share with you guys now. As a speaker, it's not my comfort zone. I was a very shy kid. When I was 16, I got in trouble, and I had an opportunity to go to a seminar called The Forum, which is about learning life skills and basically just taking full responsibility for your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, your words, all of it. And I was lucky enough that the second weekend, that particular weekend, was going to be led by the guy who founded the organization. So there were 1,000 people in this seminar, and then another 2,000 who were in attendance, just observing. And at one point, he asked everybody who hadn't shared publicly in the group over the course of the 2 weekends to come up on stage. We all did, and there were about 50 or 60 of us. And he said what he had to say, and then he said, okay, everybody can go sit down. And I froze, and I'm not really sure what happened. Something really literally overtook my body. And he said to me, do you have something to say? And I said, I guess so. So here's this shy kid that doesn't even really talk at dinner table at the time. Handed the microphone in front of about 3,000 people, and I just start sharing about my parents and how much I love them and how much they meant to me because they were in the crowd. And I didn't even really tell them that stuff to their face at that time in my life. And what I observed in that moment was the whole room changed. It lit up the whole room, and everything shifted. And I knew that that was because I authentically shared. And I knew at that time that that was what I had to do and what I was meant to do with my life. But I, again, as a very shy person, I was scared shitless, and I didn't really start working on that till I was 40. Now 47, just turned this summer, and have worked on it diligently since, and have turned myself into a pretty effective speaker, mostly because, like this, I just speak from the heart. It comes through me, not from me. So really, I'm just a channel for God to get the messages out to the people in a different, unique way. A lot of times just a much more simple way than people are used to hearing. So that's a little bit about my story and why I do it and why I do this work. And I told Scott, look, dude, I'm not one of those guys that wants to be on stage because of my ego. In fact, I actively don't want to be on stage. That's not what I would choose to do with my life. But I've been given this gift, and I have to use it for the purposes that I was given it for. And that is to get messages to people about sovereignty and freedom and accountability and looking inward, visualization, and all the things that I talk about. And when we had that conversation just a little while ago, I said, Scott, you got to understand something. This work that I do, Zilosophy, is really important to me, just like Patriot Street Fighter is to you. There's a very short list of people on this earth that I would put Zilosophy to the side for in order to help their causes. And I said, and you're on that list. And the other people on that list might shock you. It's Linwood, Mike Pompeo, General Flynn, Sidney Powell, people like that. It's a very, very short list. Because I think that what I have and what I do and what I talk about is worthy enough to stand on its own. But there are people out there that are doing incredible work that I would love to support. And so he was very honored by that. I meant every word of it. And so for him, I will do whatever I can to help the next version of the tour, to help his things keep going, as long as I can continue to make my videos and do the creative stuff like you saw the video I put out, the last one that I made for him, about my idea about a superhero movie, the Patriot Street Fighter and the Bald Avenger, which I think is an amazing idea. Not patting myself on the back, but I think it's an amazing idea because I think there's a real opportunity there to make a real superhero movie that has a real impact on children all over the world and helps them learn to be patriotic and strong, but peaceful until that's no longer an option. To be moral, to do things for the right way, for the right reasons. All the things that superhero movies claim to be, but really they're just part of that Hollywood bullshit brainwashing. And now that that's all crumbled, and as it's going to crumble more, there will be an emergence of real content that comes out that really makes a difference in the world and is really done for the right reasons, not to build egos and bank accounts. So, and I think the Patriot Street Fighter story can have a lot to say on that front. So that's one of the things I hope to get the chance to help him with. Let's see what else we want to talk about today. Let's talk about some governors. So Governor DeSantis, I hit pretty good on my last video. He did come out this week and say some pretty good things and push back against Biden. You worry about the border, I'll worry about my state kind of a vibe, which is great. He gives good podium, I'll give him that. It's, again, a big reason why I moved to Florida, because I believe so much in that guy and the way he talks about those things and talks to those people, that he's going to protect his citizens. Unfortunately, with the things that he has said this week, he still hasn't said anything about why he lied, that the vax has an effective 0% mortality rate if you take it, bold-faced lie, and why he won't address that Florida had some major voting issues and we need to have an audit in some key counties here. So I'm not giving him a free pass. I'm not going to. And then speaking of other governors, Cuomo's in hot water. Finally came out that they did find that he did harass those women. That's a terrible crime, but these are the least of his crimes. He also killed tens of thousands of elderly on purpose during COVID by forcing sick people back into nursing homes and locking them all down together. That's straight up murder, crimes against humanity. And he, like every other governor, not every other governor, sorry, mostly every other governor, took part in the rigging of the election. There's no question about that, so that's high treason. So he's got some pretty big crimes to answer for, and they're using this to distract from those and also to distract from the audits that are happening in the country, because although I think New York needs to be audited as well, it's probably the only state that Biden actually did win. And so now let's go to our buddy Governor Newsom in California, who is really at risk for a recall. So what's he doing? Locking everybody down and saying you can only vote by mail-in vote. Well, I was able to text my now good friend Lee Dundas and ask her, hey, isn't there some way that you guys can sue Newsom or the state to make them prove that the COVID-19 virus exists and that a pandemic exists in order for them to take the measure that people need to mail-in vote only and that they can't vote in person. And she's actually having a meeting today. Today's Friday. I forget what the date is. The 6th maybe. She's having a meeting today with a bunch of lawyers in California about just that. How do we sue them to stop this? So that, and for those who missed it, that comes from a landmark case which happened in Canada this past week. Well, the ruling did anyway, where this guy got a ticket for being out in the streets while he wasn't supposed to be, and then sued the Minister of Health in Alberta, which is the state that he lives in, to say that in order to enforce this ticket, you actually need to prove that COVID-19 exists, that it's been isolated in a laboratory, which it has not, because it does not exist. It's a totally made-up thing. Now, a little side note, there is a bioweapon that was made. That is real. People are getting sick and are dying. That is real. It's not a virus. It's a bioweapon. So they can't prove the virus exists because it doesn't. And they can't prove the need for lockdowns and masks and mail-in only voting and all that stuff because the pandemic just doesn't exist. It's not real, no matter what they tell you on your TV. So there's a lot going on that front. You know, there's a lot going on in the world. Turkey, Greece, several other countries are on fire, top to tail. There's biblical floods going on everywhere. Mike Lindell's Symposium is coming up as CNN is still defaming and slandering him, saying he has no evidence. Meanwhile, he's got a symposium next week, CNN, where you can show up and prove, if you're able to prove that his information is false, you get $5 million. So why don't you do that? Well, you can't do that because you know it's true. But what you can do is use your bullshit propaganda platform to continue to brainwash people into thinking that that he's lying, which he's not. The information's all there. All the stuff's coming out in Arizona. Wisconsin's now having major protests today. PA's about had it with their government officials not doing anything. I mean, it's about to pop off everywhere that the election was rigged, was stolen. This is indisputable. It's not an opinion. These are facts. The evidence has been there since the beginning, as I've said, since the beginning. If you read the Navarro report, if you read Sidney Powell's report, if you look at Mike Lindell's movies, if you look at all this information, none of this is conjecture. It's all factual evidence. Just like the factual evidence of the 4,000 patents that have been filed since the year 2000 for COVID and the development of the COVID bioweapon, as well as the development of the, quote, vaccines that are meant to fix it. 4,000 documents on file with the U.S. Patent Office. That's not an opinion. That is factual evidence that they've planned and staged this whole thing. And yet people keep going on. When I was sick, people were like, did you get the Delta variant? That was my look. Just a blank stare. What the fuck are you talking about, Delta variant? There's no such thing as a Delta variant. It does not exist. It's literally a propaganda story made up to scare people. And of course, now they're going into the Lambda variant, even much more scary. And look out after that. Here comes the Doomsday variant, because they weren't even creative enough to come up with another Greek letter. They just had to just come straight out and say people aren't in enough fear, so we're just going to call this next one the Doomsday Variant, so that everybody thinks they're going to die. Like, guys, when are we going to wake up? When are we going to stand up? Countries all over the world, France, Germany, Ireland, Austria, Australia, on and on and on, hundreds of thousands of people in the street, especially France. People in the United States call France pussies. I don't know what you're talking about. First of all, they saved our ass in the Revolutionary War. We would not have won it without them. Number two, they're out in the streets every damn day in the hundreds of thousands protesting these vaccine passports and lockdowns and all this other bullshit that they know is false. What are we doing here in the U.S.? Nothing. Crickets. There's a few hundred people here and there doing protests. When are we going to stand up? When are we going to tell them we've had enough of your bullshit? We the people run the government, not them. When are we going to stand up and do it? Now is the time. It's time to get off your couch, get off your ass, and let's get into the streets and peacefully demand that we take the power back in this country. We're the ones in control. We don't want to listen to this bullshit about this fake pandemic anymore. We don't want to listen to this bullshit about this fake presidency anymore. Now's the time to stand up and do something about it. So let's get out there and do it. I love you guys. Thank you as always for listening. It means the world to me that even one person would listen to the things that I have to say. So the fact that it's happening in the hundreds and even the thousands at times is quite touching, and really keeps me going to know that there are people out there that this helps, and I'm going to keep doing it until my last breath. As I've said many times, I'll keep saying it because that's the truth. I will keep speaking the truth at all costs. I lost some more friends this week about some controversial things that I posted. I have no tolerance for people and their bullshit that are saying that I'm doing insensitive things, posting insensitive things about what happened to the Jews by the Nazis in World War II. Meanwhile, these are the same people that are actually defending the Nazis right now, saying that vaccine passports are okay. Show me your papers and you can go live your life. Are you insane? And then, other people that aren't friends that are finally been flicked away like the little bugs that they are, like the Karen Williams of the world. It's just a dark energy out there spewing her opinions on group chats, pretending to be light when she's really only filled with darkness. And I got some great news about that today, that she's no longer on the group chat that we were all on, that I had left already. But people like that just don't have a place, and I'm not a totalitarian saying that we need to remove people. But listen, the reason we're in the position we're in right now is because we've allowed idiots to spew their opinions about nothing, and their nonsensical ideas backed with no facts and no evidence, and we've allowed to spew them all over us. And that's why we have a government that has total control and we have none, because we've given away the power to these morons, and I'm not going to stand for it anymore. So if you're a moron and you're out there spewing your useless opinion, harming people with your stupid opinions, I'm going to come after you, and there will be no mercy. I can promise you that. I love you, and I'll talk to you guys soon. God bless.